Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the starship Independence and watched Earth grow smaller in the viewscreen. Behind him, the last human fleet stretched across space like a river of lights. 300 ships carried 8 million souls away from the only home humanity had ever known. "Sir, we are receiving the final transmission from Earth Control," said Lieutenant Commander Lisa Carter from the communications station. Her voice was steady, but Jake could see the tension in her shoulders. They all felt it. This was not a mission or an exploration. This was exile. The main screen flickered and Admiral Patricia Wells appeared, speaking from the orbital command station above Earth. "This is Admiral Wells with final orders for Fleet Commander Morrison. You have 72 hours to clear the Sol system. Any human vessel remaining after that time will be destroyed without warning. The Galactic Council has made their decision. Final. Humanity is banned from civilized space." Jake clenched his fists, but kept his voice calm. "Understood, Admiral. What about the colonies? Mars base? The mining stations?" "All human settlements outside Earth are being evacuated or destroyed," Wells replied. "The aliens are thorough. They want no trace of human presence in their space." She paused and her official mask slipped for a moment. "Jake, I'm sorry. We fought this for 3 years, but they won't change their minds. The Vorthan Empire convinced the others that we're too dangerous to remain." The transmission ended, and Jake stared at the empty screen. Dangerous. That was the word the aliens always used when they talked about humans. Not evil or cruel or warlike, just dangerous. He never understood what they meant. "Captain Morrison to the bridge," came a voice over the intercom. It was Pete Rodriguez, his chief engineer. "We have a problem in Cargo Bay 7. Jake left the Sin bridge and made his way through the ship's corridors. Families sat in groups wherever there was space. Children asked questions their parents couldn't answer. Where were they going? When would they come home? The adults had no good answers to give Dot in Cargo Bay 7. Jake found Pete standing next to a massive crate that hummed with power. "What is it?" Jake asked. Pete grinned and patted the crate. "A little goodbye present from the research station. At Titan, Dr. Amy Foster managed to copy the entire alien technology database before they shut us down. Everything the Vorthans and their friends taught us over the past 50 years is in here." "That's stealing," said Lisa Carter, who had followed Jake from the bridge. "They're throwing us out into space to die," Pete replied. "I think we can break a few rules." He opened a panel on the crate, and lights blinked inside. "This could keep us alive out there." Jake nodded. Pete was right. The aliens were sending them away with nothing but what they could carry. Any advantage might mean the difference between survival and death. Dr. Amy Foster arrived a few minutes later, carrying a small device that beeped constantly. She was the fleet's chief scientist and one of the few people who understood alien biology. "I've been scanning the crew," she said. "Something strange is happening." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Amy held up the device. "Human DNA is changing. Not fast, but it's definitely changing. The alterations started about 6 months ago, right around the time the council voted for our exile." She looked worried. "I think the aliens did something to us." "Like what?" "I don't know yet, but whatever it is, they're afraid of it. I heard some of the Vorthan scientists talking before they left. They kept saying something about genetic activation and the old threat. They wouldn't explain what they meant." Before Jake could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. "All hands to stations," came the announcement. "Alien fleet approaching." They rushed back to the bridge where Ben Collins, a navigation officer, was tracking dozens of ships. On his instruments, "It's a Vorthan battle group," he reported. "They're not here to fight. Looks like they're making sure we leave." The view screen showed sleek alien ships moving into formation around the human fleet. Their hulls gleamed with an oily rainbow sheen that hurt to look at directly. Each ship was twice the size of the largest human vessel and armed with weapons that could crack planets. A transmission came through, and the image of a Vorthan commander appeared on screen. The alien looked like a giant insect walking on two legs, with 4 arms and compound eyes that reflected the bridge lights. When it spoke, its voice was translated by computer into flat, emotionless English. "I am Commander Zeth Kalar of the Vorthan Imperial Fleet. Human vessels will proceed immediately to the Galactic Rim. Any deviation from the prescribed course will result in destruction. You have been given coordinates for your exit point. Reach it within the time limit or face the consequences." Jake stepped forward. "Commander, we need more time to organize the fleet. Some of our ships have families with small children. Others are carrying heavy equipment." "The Council's decision is final," Zethkalar replied. "Your species has proven too unstable for civilized space. Your wars, your expansion, your refusal to accept proper authority, all mark you as a threat to galactic peace. You will leave now or be destroyed. What about supplies? Fuel? Medical equipment? That is not our concern. The galaxy will be safer without human contamination." The transmission ended. Jake looked around the bridge at his crew. They were all thinking the same thing. The aliens weren't just exiling humanity. They were trying to kill them slowly by sending them into empty space without enough resources to survive. "Sir," said Ben Collins from his station, "I've been studying the coordinates they gave us. They want us to go beyond the galactic rim, out into the void between galaxies. There's nothing out there. No stars, no planets, nothing. How long would our supplies last?" Jake asked. Pete did quick calculations on his tablet. "Maybe 10 years if we're very careful. 15 if we can find ways to recycle everything perfectly. And after that, we die." Jake stared at the tactical display showing the alien fleet surrounding them. 8 million humans against the entire galaxy. It wasn't much of a fight. But maybe it didn't have to be a fight at all. Maybe they could find another way. "Lisa, send a message to all ships in the fleet," he ordered. "Tell them we're not giving up. We're going to find a way to survive this. And someday, we're going to come back." Over the next 3 days, the human fleet made its way to the edge of known space. Behind them, alien ships destroyed every human colony and outpost they found. Mars base was vaporized. The mining stations around Jupiter were blown apart. Even the small research posts in the outer system were reduced to debris. Dr. Amy Foster worked constantly, studying the genetic changes she had detected. The alterations were getting stronger as they moved away from the galaxy's center. Whatever was happening to humanity, distance from civilized space seemed to make it happen faster. Pete Rodriguez and his engineering teams prepared the ships for a journey that might last decades. They modified life support systems, installed new recycling equipment, and converted cargo spaces into hydroponic farms. Every scrap of material was precious now. Ben Collins plotted courses through the dark space ahead, looking for anything that might help them survive. His long-range sensors detected faint energy signatures from beyond the galactic rim. Something was out there in the darkness, but it was too far away to identify. On the final day, as the last human ship crossed the boundary into intergalactic space, Jake Morrison stood on his bridge and watched the galaxy shrink behind them. Somewhere in that spiral of stars was Earth, now forbidden to them forever. "All ships, this is Morrison," he broadcast to the fleet. "We're on our own now, but we're still alive, and we're still human. That has to count for something. Stay close. Watch out for each other, and remember that this isn't the end of our story. It's just the beginning of a new chapter." The alien Ships turned back toward the galaxy, their job complete. Humanity was gone, cast out into the cosmic void to die forgotten and alone. But as the fleet moved deeper into the darkness between stars, Dr. Amy Foster made a discovery that would change everything. The genetic changes in human DNA weren't random. They were following a pattern, as if something was guiding the transformation. And the closer they got to the energy signatures Ben had detected, the stronger the changes became. Something was waiting for them in the dark. Something that had been waiting for a very long time. 10 years had passed since the human fleet left the galaxy behind. Admiral Jake Morrison, promoted after the previous fleet commander died in a mining accident, stood in the observation deck of New Hope Station and watched children play in the artificial gravity fields. These were the exile children, born in the darkness between stars, and they were different from any humans who had come before. Lucy Barnes, now chief engineer for the entire fleet, floated past the observation window in her worksuit. She was installing new fusion collectors on the station's outer hull. The massive rotating structure had been built from the wreckage of 3 cargo ships and materials harvested from dead asteroids. It housed 50,000 people and served as the fleet's main construction facility. Admiral Morrison to Engineering Bay 12, came Lucy's voice over the comm system. "You need to see this." Jake made his way through the station's corridors, past hydroponic farms and workshops where people built everything they needed to survive. The fleet had learned to waste nothing. Every scrap of metal, every drop of water, every breath of air was precious in the void. In Engineering Bay 12, Lucy stood next to a device that looked like it had grown rather than been built. Curved metal surfaces flowed into each other, like water, and lights pulsed beneath the surface in patterns that seemed almost alive. "What is it?" Jake asked. "A fusion matter converter," Lucy replied, pride evident in her voice. "I built it using the alien technology Pete copied from Titan. But I had to modify the design. Human engineering and alien science work differently, so I combined them." She touched a control panel and the device hung to life. "Watch this." Lucy fed a chunk of asteroid rock into one end of the machine. Energy flowed through the curved channels, and the rock began to change. Within minutes, it had been transformed into pure, breathable air. "This machine can turn any matter into anything we need," Lucy explained. "Food, air, water, construction materials, even fuel. We're not going to starve out here." Jake stared at the device in amazement. "How many of these can you build?" "As many as we need. The design is scalable. I can make bigger ones for the larger ships, smaller ones for individual families." Lucy's eyes gleamed with excitement. "Admiral, we're not just surviving anymore. We're starting to thrive." Across the station, Dr. Amy Foster worked in her laboratory, studying tissue samples from the exiled children. The genetic changes she had first detected during the Exodus were accelerating. The children showed enhanced reflexes, improved resistance to radiation, and cognitive abilities that surpassed their parents. Her assistant, Dr. Kate Miller, looked up from her microscope. "Amy, you need to see this. The DNA changes aren't random. They're following a specific pattern, like someone designed them." Amy joined Kate at the microscope and studied the samples. The genetic alterations were indeed systematic, affecting specific areas of human biology in predictable ways. "It's like our DNA contains instructions that are being activated by something out here in the dark," she said. "But what could activate dormant genetic sequences?" Kate asked before Amy could answer. Alarms began sounding throughout the station. "All hands to emergency stations," came the announcement. "Unidentified energy source detected." Jake rushed to the command center where Ben Collins, now the fleet's chief navigator, was studying sensor readings that made no sense. "Admiral, we've found something. It's big." The main screen showed a scan of the space ahead of them. In the darkness between galaxies, something massive was reflecting their sensor beams. The object was roughly spherical and appeared to be artificial. "How big?" Jake asked. "About the size of Earth's moon," Ben replied. "But it's not natural. The surface is too smooth, too regular, and it's giving off energy signatures I've never seen before." Sam Turner, who had become the fleet's chief pilot after proving himself in dozens of dangerous salvage missions, volunteered to lead a reconnaissance flight. "I'll take a small team and check it out. If it's dangerous, we can get away fast." Jake nodded. "Be careful, Sam. We can't afford to lose anyone." Sam's team launched in modified shuttles equipped with Lucy's new fusion drives. The small ships could accelerate faster than anything the aliens had ever built, thanks to human modifications to alien technology. As they approached the mysterious object, their sensors began picking up detailed readings. "This thing is old," Sam reported over the comm. "Really old. I'm reading metal alloys that don't match anything in our databases. And there are structures on the surface that look like buildings, or maybe docking bays." The object wasn't just artificial. It was a space station, or maybe even a ship, built by someone who had mastered technology far beyond anything humans or their alien exiles had ever seen. As Sam's team got closer, they discovered something even more amazing. "Admiral, there are markings on the hull." Sam's voice crackled with excitement. "Symbols and patterns carved into the metal. But here's the weird part. Some of these symbols match the genetic sequences Dr. Foster has been studying." In her laboratory, Amy Foster listened to Sam's report with growing amazement. She pulled up her genetic charts and compared them to the images Sam was transmitting. The match was undeniable. Whoever built this ancient station had somehow encoded similar patterns into human DNA. "Sam, can you find a way inside?" Jake asked. "Working on it. There's what looks like an airlock, but it's sealed tight." "Wait, something's happening." Sam's voice became tense. "The airlock is opening on its own. It's like the station recognizes us." Against all safety protocols, Sam's team entered the alien station. The corridors inside were dark, but their lights revealed walls covered in the same symbols they had seen outside. The artificial gravity was still working after who knew how many centuries, and the air, while thin, was breathable. "This place is huge," Sam reported as his team explored deeper into the station. "Miles and miles of corridors and chambers. And Admiral, I'm finding what look like manufacturing facilities. Factories that could build ships or weapons or technology we can't even imagine." In the largest chamber they found, Sam made the most important discovery of all. Banks of computers lined the walls, their screens dark, but their power systems still functional. When Kate Miller, who had joined the exploration team, touched one of the control panels, the entire chamber came to life. Lights illuminated vast displays, showing star maps of galaxies, technical diagrams of impossible machines, and historical records of a civilization that had once spanned the universe. The computers began translating their contents into human languages, as if they had been waiting for someone to find them. "This is incredible," Kate's voice echoed through the chamber. "According to these records, this station was built by a race called the Builders. They created technology that could reshape matter at the atomic level, travel between galaxies instantly, and even modify the genetic structure of living beings." Jake's heart raced as he listened to the reports. "What happened to them?" "The records show they were destroyed by a coalition of younger races who feared their power," Kate replied. "The same races that now control our galaxy. The Vorthans, the Crystalline Empire, all of them. They joined together to destroy the Builders and took over their territory." Sam's team spent hours exploring the station and downloading its databases. They found manufacturing facilities that could build ships using designs beyond human understanding. They discovered weapon systems that could crack planets or create new stars. Most importantly, they found genetic laboratories where the builders had conducted experiments on dozens of species throughout the universe. Admiral, the genetic changes happening to our children aren't random. Amy Foster's voice was filled with wonder and fear. The builders seeded dozens of species with dormant genetic sequences. Humans are one of them. We're designed to be there. Inheritors. That's why the aliens cast us out, Jake realized. They didn't fear what we are now. They feared what we could become. The discovery changed everything for the human fleet. The ancient station, which they named Builder's Rest, became their new base of operations. Lucy Barnes and her engineering teams worked with builder technology to create ships and habitats beyond anything they had dreamed possible. The fusion matter converters were primitive compared to builder machines that could transform empty space into solid matter. Sam Turner began training pilots on builder spacecraft that could travel faster than light without using conventional drives. The ships seemed to move by manipulating space itself, folding distances until the destination was next to the starting point. Amy Foster studied the genetic sequences in the builder databases and learned how to safely activate the dormant codes in human DNA. The exile children, already showing enhanced abilities, began developing capabilities that seemed almost magical. Ben Collins used builder star maps to chart courses to hidden worlds scattered throughout the dark space between galaxies. Each world they found contained more builder technology and sometimes even other refugee species that had been driven out by the galactic powers. As the years passed, the human fleet grew into something new. They were no longer refugees fleeing into exile. They were explorers discovering the inheritance left by an ancient civilization. The children born in the void between stars grew into adults with abilities their parents could barely comprehend. Jake Morrison stood once again in the observation deck, but now he looked out at a fleet of ships that gleamed with builder technology. Humanity had found something in the darkness that the galaxy's rulers had tried to hide from them. They had found their destiny. The aliens had cast them out to die in the void. Instead, humanity had discovered they were meant to rule it. 20 years had passed since humanity first discovered Builder's Rest. Admiral Jake Morrison now stood in the command center of New Haven, the first human city built on a planet since Earth. The world orbited a young star in the heart of the young. Sanctuary Cluster, a collection of galaxies hidden behind ancient builder technology that made them invisible to the outside universe. The transformation of humanity was complete. The children born in exile had grown into adults with abilities that seemed impossible. They could survive in hard vacuum for hours. Their enhanced minds could process information faster than any computer, and they understood builder technology as if they had built it themselves. Captain Sam Turner, now commander of the Commonwealth Defense Force, walked into the command center wearing armor that seemed to be made of liquid starlight. "Admiral, we've received contact from the Outer Rim Scouts. They've found something you need to see." Jake followed Sam to the communication array, where a holographic display showed the face of Lieutenant Ben Collins. The young man had inherited his father's skills as a navigator, but far exceeded them with his enhanced abilities. He commanded a deep space exploration vessel equipped with the most advanced builder technology they had discovered. "Admiral, we've made contact with another refugee species," Ben reported. "They call themselves the Etherians. They're crystalline beings who were driven from the galaxy 500 years ago. They've been hiding in the Sanctuary Cluster ever since." The display changed to show creatures that looked like walking diamonds, their bodies reflecting light in patterns that hurt to look at directly. They moved with grace, despite their rocky appearance, and their voices sounded like wind chimes. When they spoke, "They know about the builders," Ben continued. "In fact, they have builder genetic modifications just like us. They were one of the seeded species. Jake felt excitement building in his chest. Humanity wasn't alone in their inheritance. Can they help us understand the builder technology better? More than that, Admiral. They have access to builder archives that we haven't found yet. Technical specifications for weapons and ships that make our current technology look primitive. They're willing to share in exchange for protection. Protection from what? Ben's expression darkened. The galactic powers have been hunting refugee species for centuries. The Etherians say there are agents who search the dark spaces looking for survivors. They've been hiding, but their camouflage technology is failing. Jake made his decision. Quickly, bring them to New Haven. We'll offer them sanctuary and alliance. Over the following months, the Etherians integrated into human society with surprising ease. Their crystal bodies were tough enough to work in the vacuum of space without protection, making them excellent engineers and builders. Dr. Amy Foster worked with their scientists to unlock new genetic sequences that had remained dormant in both species. Lucy Barnes, now Director of Technology Development, collaborated with Etherian engineers to build ships that were larger and more powerful than anything humanity had created before. The new vessels combined human adaptability with Etherian precision and builder knowledge to create something entirely new. "Look at this," Lucy said, standing in the construction bay where their latest ship was taking shape. The vessel was beautiful, its hull flowing like water, but harder than any metal known to science. "We're calling it the Liberator class. It can carry 10,000 people, manufacture its own fuel and supplies, and fight off an entire alien fleet." Dr. Kate Miller, now chief historian and archaeologist, had been studying builder records with Etherian scholars. The builders didn't just create technology, she explained to Jake during one of their regular briefings. They created entire civilizations. They would find primitive species and guide their development, giving them genetic gifts and technological knowledge. "Why?" Jake asked. "Because they knew they would eventually be destroyed by jealous younger races. The builders were preparing their inheritors to take over when they were gone." Kate's eyes gleamed with understanding. Every species they modified was designed to work together, to combine their strengths and compensate for each other's weaknesses. As if to prove Kate's point, more refugee species began arriving at the sanctuary cluster. The depths were aquatic beings who could manipulate water and other liquids at the molecular level. The Luminari were energy creatures who could exist as pure thought when necessary. Each species had been driven from the galaxy, and each carried builder genetic modifications. Sam Turner found himself commanding an increasingly diverse military force. Human soldiers worked alongside Etherian engineers, depth aquatic specialists, and luminary energy manipulators. They trained in combat, techniques that used builder technology to devastating effect. "We're not just building a fleet," Sam reported to Jake. "We're building an army that could take on the entire galaxy. These refugees aren't weak survivors. They're all species that the galactic powers feared enough to exile or destroy." The truth of Sam's words became clear when Commonwealth scouts began venturing back toward the galaxy's edge. Their missions revealed that the galactic civilizations had grown complacent and corrupt in the centuries since the Great Exiles. The Vorthan Empire ruled through fear and oppression. The other major powers maintained their control by keeping younger species weak and divided. "They've created the very threat they tried to prevent," Dr. Amy Foster explained to the Commonwealth Council, which now included representatives from all the refugee species. "By exiling everyone who showed promise or independence, they've gathered all their potential enemies in one place and given us time to become stronger than they ever imagined." Ben Collins returned from a deep reconnaissance mission with intelligence that changed everything. "The Outer Rim territories are in revolt," he reported. "Dozens of minor species are rebelling against galactic authority. They're being crushed. one by one because they're not coordinated and they don't have the technology to resist effectively. Jake studied the holographic maps Ben had brought back. Red zones showed areas of rebellion, while blue zones remained under galactic control. The pattern was clear. The outer rim was ready for liberation, but lacked the power to achieve it. What kind of forces would we need to make a difference? Jake asked Sam. A single Commonwealth fleet could liberate an entire sector, Sam replied confidently. Our ships are better, our weapons are stronger, and our people are enhanced beyond anything the galaxy has seen. But Admiral, once we make that move, there's no going back. We'll be committed to total war. Dr. Kate Miller had been studying historical records from the Outer Rim rebellions. The rebels aren't asking for conquest or domination, she told the council. They just want freedom from oppression. If we can give them that, they'll join us willingly. The decision wasn't easy, but it was inevitable. Humanity and their allies had been given the power to reshape the galaxy. The Builder inheritance wasn't just technology and genetic enhancements. It was responsibility. We're going back, Jake announced to the Commonwealth. Not as exiles or refugees, but as liberators. Every species that wants freedom will have it. Every world that chooses independence will be protected. The preparation took months. Commonwealth shipyards worked around the clock to build vessels that could carry their message across the galaxy. Lucy Barnes designed ships that could manufacture supplies and equipment in the field, ensuring that liberation forces could operate indefinitely without returning to base. Amy Foster developed genetic enhancement treatments that could be given to allied species, helping them resist the biological weapons the galactic powers used to control subject populations. The treatments also included psychological modifications that made beings naturally resistant to propaganda and mental manipulation. Sam Turner organized joint training exercises that taught Commonwealth forces to work with newly liberated peoples. The goal wasn't conquest, but partnership. Every world they freed would become part of a growing alliance based on mutual respect rather than domination. The Etherians contributed stealth technology that could hide entire fleets from detection. The depths provided biological warfare countermeasures that protected against alien diseases and toxins. The Luminari offered communication systems that could coordinate forces across vast distances instantly. As the Commonwealth fleet prepared for departure, Jake Morrison reflected on how far humanity had come. They had been cast out as dangerous primitives. Now they returned as inheritors of the greatest civilization the universe had ever known. The exile children who would crew the liberation ships were no longer entirely human in the old sense. They were something new, something the builders had designed to reshape the galaxy according to principles of freedom and cooperation rather than fear and oppression. Admiral, Sam Turner reported as the first wave of ships prepared to launch. The fleet is ready. We have enough firepower to defeat any force the galactic powers can send against us, and enough construction capability to build new ships and stations wherever we need them. Jake nodded and gave the order that would change galactic history. Launch the fleet. It's time to go home. The Commonwealth ships slipped out of the sanctuary cluster like shadows, their builder stealth systems hiding them from any possible detection. Behind them, production facilities continued building more vessels and preparing more refugees for the campaign ahead. The galaxy that had cast humanity into exile was about to learn what they had really created in the darkness between stars. They had tried to rid themselves of a perceived threat. Instead, they had given birth to their replacements. The Commonwealth fleet emerged from dark space at the edge of the galaxy, like ghosts becoming solid. General Sam Turner stood on the bridge of the flagship, Destiny watching as his sensors detected the first signs of galactic civilization in over 30 years. Nothing had changed. The Outer Rim world still struggled under alien oppression, while the core systems grew fat on stolen wealth. General, "We're receiving distress signals from the Kepler system," reported Commander Ben Collins from the navigation station. "The locals are fighting Vorthan occupation forces, but they're being overwhelmed." Sam studied the tactical display. 3 human-settled worlds were under attack by a Vorthan battle group. The defenders had managed to destroy several alien ships, but they were running out of ammunition and fuel. In a few hours, the rebellion would be crushed and the survivors enslaved. "How long to reach them?" Sam asked. 6 hours at maximum speed," Ben replied. "Then we'll be too late." Sam thought for a moment, then smiled. "Unless we use builder transit technology." "Ben, plot a jump directly into the system. We're going to announce our return with style." The Commonwealth ships vanished from normal space and reappeared instantly in the heart of the Kepler system. The Vorthan fleet, caught completely by surprise, found themselves surrounded by vessels they didn't recognize using technology they couldn't understand. "Attention Vorthan forces," Sam broadcast on all frequencies. "This is General Sam Turner of the United Commonwealth. You will cease your attack on these worlds immediately and withdraw from this system." The response came from the Vorthan fleet commander, a creature whose insectoid voice dripped with arrogance. "Unknown vessels, you are interfering with Imperial justice. These humans violated galactic law by refusing tribute. Stand down or be destroyed." Sam's laugh was cold. "Commander, I think you misunderstood. That wasn't a request." The Commonwealth. Ships opened fire with weapons that turned space itself into a weapon. Vorthan shields, designed to stop energy beams and projectiles, offered no protection against attacks that manipulated matter at the quantum level. The alien fleet was disabled. In minutes, their ships drifting helplessly as their power systems failed. "This is impossible," the Vorthan commander sputtered. "What manner of weapons are these?" "The kind that come from exile in the dark," Sam replied. "Your empire cast humanity out to die 30 years ago. We survived. We grew stronger. Now we're back." On the surface of New Kepler, the human colonists stared in amazement as their impossible saviors descended from the sky. The Commonwealth landing craft were beautiful beyond description, their hulls reflecting light like captured rainbows. When the doors opened, figures emerged that looked human, but moved with fluid grace that no natural human could achieve. Director Lucy Barnes led the relief effort, her team setting up manufacturing stations that could produce food, medicine, and construction materials from the planet's raw elements. The technology seemed like magic to the colonists, who had been struggling with broken equipment and dwindling supplies. "Who are you people?" asked Governor Maria Santos, the elected leader of the new Kepler colony. "We're your cousins from Earth." Lucy replied with a smile. "The ones the aliens threw away because they thought we were too dangerous to keep around. But that was 30 years ago. The exile fleet was supposed to die in dark space. We found something better than death out. There, we found our inheritance." Lucy gestured to the manufacturing stations that were already producing clean water and fresh food. "This is builder technology. The aliens who exiled us were afraid we might discover it someday. Turns out they were right to be afraid." Word of the Commonwealth's return spread through the outer rim faster than light itself. Admiral Jake Morrison, now Supreme Commander of all Commonwealth forces, established his headquarters on Liberation Station, a massive builder construct that appeared in the neutral zone between galactic territories. The station served multiple purposes. Its manufacturing bays could build entire fleets in a matter of weeks. Its medical facilities offered genetic enhancement treatments to any species that requested them. Most importantly, its communication arrays could coordinate resistance movements across thousands of light years instantly. Supreme Commander, we're receiving requests for assistance from 47 different systems, reported Intelligence Director Kate Miller. The rebellions are spreading faster than we anticipated. Jake studied the galactic map, where red zones of rebellion now covered nearly a quarter of the outer rim. What's the reaction from the core worlds? Panic, Kate replied with satisfaction. The Vorthan Empire has mobilized their entire fleet. The other major powers are doing the same. They're calling emergency sessions of the Galactic Council. Good. Let them panic. How are our new allies adapting to Commonwealth technology? Dr. Amy Foster, now Director of Genetic Enhancement, joined the conversation. Better than we hoped. The liberation treatments are working perfectly. Species that have been oppressed for centuries are discovering abilities they never knew they had. It's like the aliens have been deliberately suppressing natural genetic development. Because they have been, Kate added. I've been studying. Captured Vorthan records. They've been using biological agents to keep subject species weak and compliant. Our treatments don't just enhance abilities. They reverse decades of artificial suppression. The proof of Amy's words could be seen throughout the Outer Rim. Human colonies that received Commonwealth aid became centers of miraculous recovery. Crops grew in poisoned soil. Broken machinery repaired itself. Children born after liberation showed the same enhanced abilities as the exiled generations. Sam Turner coordinated military operations from the bridge of his flagship as it moved from system to system. The Commonwealth didn't conquer worlds. They liberated them and offered them membership in a growing alliance. Every species that joined brought new knowledge and capabilities to the coalition. General, the Centauri Republic wants to join the Commonwealth, Ben Collins reported during one of their daily briefings. They're offering to provide their entire merchant fleet in exchange for protection from Vorthan retaliation. Accepted. Sam replied immediately. What about the Tau Ceti Federation? They're requesting genetic enhancement treatments for their population. Apparently, they've been sterile for the past 2 centuries due to Vorthan biological warfare. Dr. Foster says. She can reverse the damage. Tell her to make it a priority. We need every ally we can get. The war was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Commonwealth forces didn't fight battles in the traditional sense. They appeared without warning, disabled enemy fleets with weapons that shouldn't exist, and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. Vorthan commanders found themselves fighting shadows while their subject worlds slipped away one by one. They're not using conventional tactics, complained Admiral Zeth Kalar during an emergency meeting of the Vorthan High Command. Our ships are superior in numbers, but their technology makes them nearly invulnerable. How are we supposed to fight enemies who can manipulate space itself? The answer came from an unexpected source. Deep in the Vorthan archives, ancient records spoke of the Builder Wars that had raged millennia ago. The same weapons and technologies that the Commonwealth now wielded had once threatened to destroy galactic civilization entirely. The humans have found Builder ruins, reported Chief Archivist Vex Thara. They're using the Forbidden's technologies that we destroyed the ancient civilization to prevent. Then we know how to stop them, Seth Kalar replied grimly. The same way we stopped the Builders. Total war. Destroy every world they control. Kill every being that supports them. Wipe out their entire species before they can spread their infection further. The Vorthan Empire's response was swift and brutal. Fleets moved to destroy any world that had declared for the Commonwealth. Billions died in bombardments designed to eliminate entire populations. But the attacks only strengthened Commonwealth resolve and brought new allies flocking to their banner. They're making the same mistake they made with the Builders, Jake Morrison observed as he watched reports of the massacres. They think they can win through fear and intimidation. They don't understand that every atrocity just proves why they need to be stopped. Lucy Barnes had been working on something special in the deep manufacturing bays of Liberation Station. When she revealed her latest creation, even Jake was impressed. The device looked like a small pyramid made of crystallized starlight, But its power was beyond imagination. It's a restoration engine, Lucy explained, based on the most advanced builder technology we've discovered. It can rebuild entire worlds from atomic debris, restore dead biospheres, even bring back extinct species from genetic traces. You mean we can undo the damage the aliens have caused? All of it? Every world they've sterilized, every species they've driven extinct, every civilization they've destroyed. We can bring it all back. The news spread through Commonwealth space like wildfire. They weren't just fighting for freedom anymore. They were fighting for restoration, for the return of everything the galactic powers had stolen or destroyed over the millennia. Amy Foster made another breakthrough when she discovered how to activate dormant builder genetic sequences in any species. We don't have to limit enhancement to refugees and rebels, she announced. Every living being in the galaxy carries builder DNA. We can awaken it in all of them. Even in the aliens who enslaved them? Jake asked. Even in them, the builders didn't discriminate. They planted the seeds of transcendence in every species they encountered. The galactic powers have been fighting their own potential for evolution. As the Commonwealth continued its advance toward the galactic core, the true scope of their mission became clear. They weren't just liberating oppressed worlds. They were preparing to transform the entire galaxy into something the builders had always intended it to become. The exile was ending. The true inheritors of galactic civilization were finally coming home.